We start in Gaza with a major effort to get food to millions of people threatened by famine. Israel says an aid ship carrying 200 tonnes of food has been unloaded off the coast of Gaza. The ship set off from Cyprus days ago and is the first to arrive via a new maritime aid corridor. Only a limited amount of aid has been reaching people in Gaza by land as Israel presses on with its military campaign against Hamas.
Tons of aid have finally arrived in northern Gaza. A Spanish charity ship spent 3 days towing a barge packed with supplies from Cyprus. On board was enough food for nearly 500,000 meals, all collected by the NGO World Central Kitchen. Gaza residents said the food was desperately needed.
I want the aid for my children. I want them to live and not die of hunger. All they're eating is wild plants. There's no bread. There's nothing to eat in Gaza. I mean, it's Ramadan and there's nothing.
According to the UN, hundreds of thousands of Gazans are on the brink of famine, with the situation in the north of the Strip especially dire. Here, people are eating whatever they can find to stave off hunger. These common roadside weeds have become a staple.
As you can see, today we are breaking our Ramadan fast with mallow. We eat it every day. I have 4 children crying from hunger. We try to comfort them by giving them whatever we can get our hands on.
Many others have headed south in search of food. This family said there was nothing left for them in the north.
There's no work, no food, nothing to drink. We are eating plants. We started eating pigeon food, donkey food. We are living like animals.
According to the Israeli military, the contents of the aid barge have now been unloaded onto 12 NGO trucks for distribution in northern Gaza. Back in Cyprus, another vessel is already being loaded with more supplies and prepared for departure to the Strip. While there are high hopes that the new maritime corridor will help relieve suffering in Gaza, the UN, the EU and the US have all stated that Israel needs to open more land routes for aid as well.
Well, earlier, Shaina with the Norwegian Refugee Council in Jerusalem told us what she is hearing from her staff on the ground in Gaza.
The situation continues to be desperate and growing more and more desperate day by day as not enough aid is getting in and not enough aid is and the aid that is getting in isn't reaching all the people who are in desperate need. The situation is particularly dire in northern Gaza, which has been effectively cut off from southern Gaza since October. Now 5 months in to this war, we're already hearing reports of people dying of malnutrition, starvation. We only anticipate that as aid continues to be delayed getting in and not enough aid is reaching people in need, that the numbers of people dying from starvation, dehydration, and preventable diseases that they are unable to fight off because their bodies are too weak. Will continue to grow, and those figures could even surpass the 31,000 Palestinians killed as a result of direct hostilities.
And this first ship that's bringing in food, can you tell us tonight who will get that food? Who's going to get the first meals?
Well, there's not a lot of clarity in terms of how the distribution will actually work. It's still, I think, is unclear whether this jetty that was created to offload the aid will work, and it's unclear to us who the World Central Kitchen is coordinating with in terms of distributions, and also how trucks and other essential materials needed to have distributions will be able to access that part of Gaza and conduct the distributions.
And what do you say? We've got an attempt to deliver aid now by water. We've had airdrops during the United States, for example. Are these an acceptable alternative to deliveries by land?
There's no alternative to delivery by land. Of course, any aid entering Gaza by whatever means is essential at this point, as we have people quite literally starving to death. But we know that the most efficient cost-effective and fail-proof way of distributing aid is to bring that aid in through the crossings by land into Gaza, and then having those distributed by trucks. There are hundreds and hundreds of trucks waiting outside of Gaza on the Egyptian side of the border, just waiting to enter. And this is life-saving aid that is being essentially blocked from entry. We know that it's there and that it's efficient. And while we see these creative alternatives being proposed and executed, it's frustrating to see that the easiest way to get aid in is not being pursued by Israel's top allies, and instead they're resorting to measures, drastic measures like airdrops, where we've seen people even be killed by airdrops that failed and other complications.
You speak of life-saving aid. I'm wondering how life-threatening is it for people, Palestinians in Gaza, to go towards these loads of food? I mean, these people are hungry, they're desperate, and yet we've seen this past week, there have been reports that people have been shot and killed by Israeli forces trying to do just that.
This has been a trend that we've seen over the last few weeks, where desperate people seeking life-saving assistance are being shot and killed. It's not always clear who, in fact, the perpetrators are, though in many of these incidents it has been affirmed that it was Israel. But it just shows how desperate the situation is, that people are risking their lives and losing their lives trying to get that life-saving assistance, food that is desperately needed, and that needs to reach some of Gaza's most vulnerable people, children, the elderly, women, people with disabilities, who are desperate for assistance.
Shaina with the Norwegian Refugee Council joining us tonight from Jerusalem. We appreciate your time and all that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.